Welcome to Unsung Heroes with Johnny, Daniel, James, and Sam. Our goal is to leave no hero unsung. Welcome to the Unsung Heroes podcast. I'm Johnny, and I'm joined here by James.
Hey.
Daniel.
Greetings.
And we have Samuel.
Hello?
Samuel, are you lost?
Samuel?
We're back in the podcast, Samuel.
I think our introductions are getting crazier and crazier.
That is okay.
I just found myself in front of a mic. I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Did you wander into the studio?
Yeah, I just...
The door was open. I just let myself in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, today we have an unsung hero for you guys named Vivien Thomas, who was a very proficient doctor, born in 1910 from Louisiana.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, so James is from Louisiana, so represent.
Originally, yes.
Yes. And today we have Daniel, who will be telling us about him. So Daniel, why don't you give us a sneak peek?
So I heard about this guy through my wife's cousin, who heard about him in school when a friend was giving a presentation on this guy. And she was so amazed and could not believe that not that many people know about him. And she brought it up, and I thought, you know what? This is a great idea. So again, we encourage audience participation. So if you guys have any idea of heroes, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. So you said it was a school. Was it like in high school or college or what?
College or I think grad school maybe. So yes. Anyway, so we'll give a shout out to Anna, and we'll say she's from Nashville. I don't think she is originally, but anyway, so she is the friend who gave this presentation on Vivien Thomas. And the funny thing about this guy is he's fairly well known, I'm assuming, in the medical field, because he's huge in the medical field. But outside of that, I'm not assuming too many people know him. But yeah, he was born in Louisiana. He's the grandson of a slave who eventually went on to come up with an extremely, extremely important surgery on infants' hearts to allow them to pretty much live.
Wow.
So you guys are gonna want to stick around for this one.
Wow. So infants, that's so interesting. Like operating on the heart of an infant. That sounds like the most delicate surgery.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because they broke a lot of medical taboos at the time with having to prepare, like to get ready to work on these babies. They had to do heart surgeries on dogs, which was like, what are you guys doing? But I mean, it seems gross, but at the same time, it makes sense that they need similar situations to get practice. So,
one interesting thing, we so often take for granted the amazing progress that we've made in the field of medicine.
Right.
Yeah, especially medicine, I feel like there's a lot of things we take for granted, technology and everything, but I don't think we realize how horrible just getting the flu was 200 years ago. That would have been like
Spanish flu 100 years ago. Oh my gosh. I don't remember the numbers on that, but that was like hundreds of millions.
I think influenza killed more people after World War I than World War I did. I think something like that. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but that's just to give you an indication of how
we might need to fact check that, but yeah.
That's close though. It's certainly close. I know that at least.
Yeah.
But
if you're in the audience, please fact check us.
Yeah. And give us a very long email about why we're wrong.
Yeah, you can leave your fact check as a 5-star review on iTunes.
As long as it's 5 stars, I don't care what you say.
The pandering is
People
strong.
don't read those anyway. It's just about the numbers. No, we're kidding. But please do give us 5 stars. That would be very interesting.
Yes. Hey, that's a great segue, Daniel, by the way.
Hey, all right.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes. But even more than that, share it with some friends, family, anyone you think who would enjoy it. People who like history, people who like podcasts.
Or even people who wouldn't enjoy it. Maybe
share it with people who you think wouldn't like it. They might like it.
Just listen to this.
Man,
Yeah.
we're gonna start getting a bunch of 1-star reviews and wonder why.
Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on with the episode.
So, yep, sounds
Yes.
good.
So welcome everyone. Thank you for listening. Today we're going to talk about Vivien Thomas, like I said earlier. So let's get into it. So this legendary man, he was born in Louisiana in 1910. And he's the grandson of a slave, and just keep that in mind of like how recent that was, in considering
Right.
his life achievements.
Yeah.
So he attended high school in Nashville, and afterwards he wanted to go to college to become a doctor. But this was right around the time of the Great Depression, so he had to get a job and try to work and make some money. So he started off working as a carpenter in Vanderbilt University in 1929, but was laid off very soon afterwards. And then he actually started school at what is now Tennessee State University as a pre-med student, but he had to drop out very soon again to work. So
So he didn't have enough money.
yeah, he just had to keep working, which is like a common thread in his youth. Of he kept wanting to study but had to just make money, so he had to stop studying and had to work.
That
so,
sounds very familiar. I feel like today that happens a lot.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure more for an African American man and the Great Depression more than
Yeah, especially during the Great Depression. Do you know? So you said he was laid off like shortly after 1929. Was it like because of the Great Depression? I mean, I don't know.
I'm assuming so. People were getting fired left and right, and jobs were being scrapped. So probably something to do with that. But so then the next year, in February of 1930, through a friend, he got connected with Dr. Alfred Blaylock at Vanderbilt University and started working as his surgical research assistant. And on his very first day, he helped the doctor with a surgical experiment on a dog.
Oh
On his first day. That's
What?
that is what you call hit the ground running right there.
Yeah, like what does a surgical research assistant like even do? That's my question.
So they do that experiment on that first day, and at the end of his first day, Dr. Blaylock tells Vivien Thomas to come in early the next morning and put an animal to sleep and get it set up. So that's one of the things he did, was to get, come in early, put an animal to quote unquote sleep, and then set up, whether it means, opening up some parts of the body that they need to reach and getting stuff set up.
So he probably was helping. So he wasn't doing a lot of this research just himself. He was like helping Dr. Blaylock do the research.
Yes, especially in this very first stage, he's mostly just helping out.
Gotcha.
But that is a great question, Johnny, because later on you'll see that he starts to dabble a little bit himself.
Oh,
He's a very
foreshadowing.
very smart guy. But so he, within just a few weeks, he starts surgery on his own. So before, where he's just setting it up and waiting for Dr. Blaylock to get there, within just a few weeks, he's gotten to a point where he can start it all on his own.
Well, that didn't take long.
Yeah, no, this guy's very smart. And he was still classified and paid as a janitor, although within half a decade or so, he was doing the work of a postdoctoral researcher in the lab. So
But being paid as a janitor?
Yeah, he's very advanced at this point, and he's doing great things, but he's classified and paid as a janitor by the university, which, that's got to really stink.
Did he? So, but did he have any like the degree qualifications to do operations?
He didn't have any like official schooling past high school. That's all he had done.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
That's amazing.
So I'm assuming this was probably due to racial segregation issues. Is that correct? That he was not.
It seems mostly due to financial reasons, but I am sure that played a lot into it. But are you talking about the
fact that he's paid as a janitor, right?
Oh,
or was that just
yeah,
because
okay,
he snuck on, or?
Yeah, I'm sure that's, a lot of it's, I mean, he doesn't actually have a degree, but I'm sure it's also because of segregation.
Right.
And, as if that's not bad enough, several months later, at that time, the banks in Nashville failed. So all of his, Thomas's savings were wiped out. So he had to completely give up plans for college and medical school at that point and just have to be happy with having a low paying job because it's hard getting by at that point, and he has like no money to his name.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he continues to work with Dr. Blaylock, and they make significant headway eventually in traumatic shock research. So this is pointed out as being one of their earliest, first big thing. They disproved the earlier theories that shock was caused by toxins, which are poisonous fluids essentially in the blood, but rather it was caused. So it wasn't caused by those, but it was rather caused by fluid loss outside the vascular bed, which. So I'm going to be giving y'all some medical terms. I don't fully know this all myself, so I may be.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the vascular bed.
Yeah, it's like a collection of blood vessels, kind of thing about that. So rather than the toxins, they're saying the shock is caused by a fluid loss outside the vascular bed, and it could be treated by fluid replacement. And they actually provide irrefutable proof. And because of this, Dr. Blaylock gained wide recognition in the medical community right around this time. And so he's starting to be very well known for this research, but also other ones to come. And right around then is when they start going against the medical taboos and starting operating upon the heart and starting experimenting in vascular and cardiac surgery.
Wow.
Again, vascular relating to like blood vessels and cardiac, around the heart.
Was this developed at all? The cardiac surgery and things of this nature.
Yeah. So around this time, it especially with what they're specifically doing, it's very not that discovered in a sense. Like not that much had been done around it. Yeah. At least the trajectory they're going towards, cardiac surgery on infants was not really well known. So they're really in the forefront of a lot of groundbreaking research here, and very, very practical too, not just theoretical. So a lot of people are recognizing this, and by 1940, Dr. Blaylock had gained such a reputation that he was asked to become the chief of surgery at Johns Hopkins, which, as y'all know, is an extremely prestigious medical institution.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he asked that Thomas come with him. So Thomas decides to move. I think he has a family at this point as well. So him and his family move to Baltimore, where Johns Hopkins is located. So he moves from Nashville to Baltimore, and it's said that he actually faced way worse racism in Baltimore than he did in Nashville.
Wow.
Which to me was pretty crazy because I've always, maybe this is more of an ignorant view as a foreigner, but it's just always seemed like the South was where it was concentrated,
Yeah.
And farther up north you went, I thought maybe it was easier.
That's definitely at least the stereotype that's given out most of the time about the South back then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. In Baltimore, I don't know. I haven't heard about that specifically, but yeah.
Do you know what the relationship between like Dr. Blaylock was? Like, how did the two view each other? Like, was it just like a working relationship? Were they friends?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sam. And I will be waiting towards the later part of this adventure.
So I have to be on the edge of my seat.
Yes, because it's really interesting to analyze their relationship after you hear about it.
Okay, all
right. It seems like there's a lot of back and forth. So moving on, the only black employees at the institution were janitors. So Vivien Thomas is the only African American walking around in a lab coat, so he got a ton of looks wherever he went in his lab coat.
Man,
and people just really looked down on him. And it got so bad that he began wearing his city clothes, so normal outdoors clothes, when he walked from the lab to Dr. Blaylock's office because he received so much attention.
Just a short walk to the office.
Yeah, just so he wouldn't get all these looks because he looked so different.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And so 1943, while working on shock research, so this is a few years after they arrived in Vanderbilt, on Johns Hopkins at this point, Dr. Blaylock is approached by Helen Tossig, who's a pediatric cardiologist. So pediatric meaning, working with infants, children, young adults. And so she was seeking a solution to a complex and fatal 4-part heart anomaly called tetralogy of Fallot. And this is a type of heart defect also at birth that's also known as the blue baby syndrome, because babies born with this would have blood pushed past their lungs, thus creating an oxygen deprivation, which caused a bluish look.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So she was thinking that there could be a way to like reconnect the pipes so as to increase the blood flow to the lungs, but she didn't know how. So she kind of had the idea of, maybe there's something here. I have no idea how you would actually, conduct such a thing.
It's honestly just amazing to me that people could even be like daydreaming about this and like trying to figure out solutions, because this is like, I don't know, it's just so over my head in so many ways.
This is one of those fields where I don't know, I don't even know enough to hypothesize what would be
like,
wrong.
How do you even come to these conclusions? It's just amazing to me.
Yep. A lot of respect to you guys out there in med school, Yeah.
Yeah, no, lot mad respect. So, think about this lady who is working as a pediatric cardiologist, and as a result of the blue baby syndrome, what happens is like infants aren't able to take more than a few steps as they're starting to crawl or whatever, or walk, because everything gets, again, I'm not using the right terminology here, but they have such a lack of oxygen that it's just disabling them from moving and eventually from living. So a lot of them would die at infancy or, as a child or whatnot, and it would just severely disable them in their lives.
That's tragic. Yeah.
So she is trying to find a cure, and she approaches Blaylock, and Blaylock and Thomas realize that back in Vanderbilt, they had essentially done very similar processes, where they joined the subclavian and the pulmonary arteries, which are arteries around the heart, in order to increase blood flow to the lungs. So they thought, hey, we actually did something similar to what you're asking for. So let's see what we can do. So Blaylock tasked Thomas with creating a blue baby-like condition in a dog, then correcting it with their process.
Poor dog.
So not 100% sure about the details here, but it sounds like he's telling the guy to, move around with the organs of a dog to create a condition that you would find in a child, and then to correct it.
So basically,
crazy.
Like make the problem and then try to fix the problem.
Yes.
Interesting.
That brings up something interesting in terms of medical research, and that is that a lot of what we know about medicine today is because of surgeries and experiments that we would consider unethical.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's a huge ethical debate about how do we actually conduct medical experiments, right? We can't like, in order to find out how to fix this problem, is it right to either induce the problem or just like cut someone open and start looking around, or we can't just do that to people. But sometimes that kind of thing did happen, and a lot of what we know today in the medical field is because of those kinds of unethical experiments. So it really brings up the question, like, at what point is it unethical, and that even brings up what the experiments that are happening today on, say, like mice and stuff. There's a question of how ethical any of that stuff is too, depending on your views of animal cruelty, But
it's hard to say, because again, even when I was reading through it, just thinking of the stuff they do on dogs in order to try to save little kids' lives. When you're first reading, it's horrifying to think of them working on the dogs. But so Thomas ends up across almost 2 years working with around 200 dogs. But as a result, he's able to prove that their method is not only not lethal, but it can also be safely attempted on a human patient.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in that
Yeah,
case, it really
so-
was. And again, also remember technology at that time. I think there are ways now where we can test things that we don't have to rely on such methods.
lot more
But
safety
remember,
involved.
there's probably very few other ways you could even test this surgery. So
Yeah.
in that case, it really did seem like it was one of the few options that they'd have to do that kind of research.
The Unsung Ethical Moral Dilemmas podcast.
It's hard to come to a conclusion because a lot of people have different backgrounds that affects the way they think. So one of us might be thinking, I mean, heck yeah, sacrificing animals for research into preserving human lives, like all the way, whereas another person might be a lot more hesitant on, unless we're 100% sure that this is going to get us somewhere, we shouldn't be like it's animal
Right.
cruelty, so
Yeah, like I owned dogs growing up, so I care about dogs.
I had a lot of human friends growing up, so I care about
Got
Just kidding. No.
That was a good one.
All right, so let's get back to the story. I do want to ask y'all a question here. So after Thomas, has worked with countless dogs and gotten to a point where he says this can safely be done on a human patient, Dr. Blaylock was so impressed by his work when he inspected the procedure on one of the dogs that he exclaimed, and I have the quote here, but I want each of you three to tell me what Dr. Blaylock exclaimed when he saw Thomas's work. And
You
was
want
impressed.
us? You want us to try to predict?
We're gonna have to guess.
Yes, each one of you.
Oh man.
Hot diggity dog.
Ooh.
Oh, I get it.
Oh no.
Hot diggity.
James.
That's a hard question.
Okay, I was hoping this would be a lot easier and a lot more interactive, but we can just move on,
Well
honestly.
done, Thomas. I don't know.
Well done, Thomas.
Exactly what he said.
Oh man, I think he would say, "Well, that wasn't very ethical of you, man." And then they would go into a dilemma.
Well, one really has to define what they consider. No, well, all very, very good guesses, guys. But what he told Thomas was, he said, "This looks like something the Lord made,"
Oh,
to signify that, like, he couldn't believe at how perfectly Thomas had worked, that it looked like it could not be human hands that had done that. So you can see that Blaylock at this point was convinced that this could work on an actual human patient. So Thomas, though, at this time isn't allowed to operate on patients. So he had to assist Blaylock during the surgery. Which, reading at first, I was like, "Oh, that's racism," but honestly, almost 100% that probably was because he didn't have a degree, and I believe without a degree, without having that medical degree, you can't actually operate on a living patient. So I think that's.
Dogs
Yeah,
are totally fine though. Do whatever you want with the dog.
Oh yeah. But I mean, keep in mind that during this time there is a lot of segregation. So I'm sure that even if very little has played into the details of his life.
right.
So the procedure was first tried on an 18-month-old infant named Eileen Saxon. Her whole body had a very bluish look to it as she was suffering this. And there were no instruments for cardiac surgery at the time. So what Thomas did was he adapted the needles and clamps that he used in the animals lab. So he just grabbed the things that he would use on the animals and tried to make instruments out of them.
Wow.
Wow.
And during the surgery, Dr. Blaylock requested that Thomas stand up on a step stool at his shoulder and coach him step by step through the procedure.
Wow.
So Vivien Thomas is literally right behind him and telling him every single thing to do.
I can imagine him as like a puppeteer in some ways.
Yeah, no, it's funny to read too, but the reason was Thomas had performed the surgery hundreds of times on dogs, but Blaylock had only done it once, and he'd only done it once as Thomas's assistant.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yet he wasn't allowed to operate on
Yeah,
the
so
person.
he could only coach him step by step.
Wow.
So the surgery ultimately wasn't a complete success, though it did prolong the infant's life for several months. But this allowed them to operate on an 11-year-old girl laterwards, and it was a complete success. And right after that, they also operated on a 6-year-old boy with success as well. And it's recounted dramatically that the kid regained his color by the end of the surgery.
Wow.
So, the blue was fading and his color was coming back. So it was clearly an extremely effective surgery. So these 3 cases that we just mentioned, they received a ton of attention and press, but only mentioned Blaylock and Taussig, that pediatric surgeon who approached them. So, no mention of Thomas at all.
Wow.
Which, again, that's, at that point, it's completely, segregationism at that point.
Wow.
And it's just,
right.
it's
And
incredible.
an unsung hero.
It might have looked bad on, and if you consider Blaylock's position, for him to, regardless, even if it, I'm sure there was obviously the racial issue there as well, but even if he was a white person, for example, there's that issue of, oh, well, I basically did the surgery at the behest of just some assistant, right? Who'd done all the work himself. That would probably reflect poorly on the institution as well. And
No, you're
he,
right.
a person who didn't have a degree, it's like,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah.
It's just unfortunate for a lot of things lined up against him, I guess, to kind of make
It
him
really is. Yeah.
underknown. Yeah.
It's mentioned that even later on, as there's more press, he isn't even included in like pictures of the team as they perform these surgeries. So,
Man.
so what you said is exactly right, James. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I in my mind think there is nothing necessarily bad about including him in a photo. But who knows?
yeah.
Obviously, we don't have all the information. So, but yeah. So, by this point, Dr. Blaylock is just like golden status in the medical field. And people are singing his praises, but Thomas got no credit at all. Within a year, they had operated on over 200 patients, as parents were bringing their kids from thousands of miles away in order to have the surgery. So again, going back to them operating on dogs and how unethical that may seem, you can't dismiss the fact that they started a groundbreaking thing that eventually has saved.
And did he ever
hundreds
get
of lives.
credit during those 200 or those people afterwards? Or was he still not being recognized?
He has been recognized eventually afterwards,
Right,
but
yeah.
so we're still in the 40s, and he still just has no recognition of it at all. And towards the end of that decade, in Johns Hopkins, he's kind of become a figure of legend to many of the surgeons he's trained. And they just praise him incredibly. But despite the respect that he got, he was not paid well at all. He even, this is really sad, he even had to work as a bartender many times to make more money. And often he would bartend at Dr. Blaylock's parties, serving the same surgeons that he had trained that day.
Wow.
So, yeah.
From Thomas's perspective, just imagine that, like, going from training them to suddenly serving them drinks. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's
just so
I feel
unfair.
I feel like there's so many words for it. It's not really fair, but it's also, I feel like you would get a lot of shame.
Yeah.
I think, just having to.
Did you ever get any insight into his own personal perspective on all of this? Did he ever do any interviews later in his life? Did he ever get more recognition further down the road? Or
So, kind of. So what we know about him is he's always says that he's always wanted to go back to study. But what happens is, even though he thinks about that, he's told to schools that he applies that his life experience wouldn't do him anything, and he'd have to start as a freshman, and he realizes he'd have to be in his 50s by the time he finished. So he abandons like all his dreams of further schooling. So he's completely given up on that. He's not being recognized at all. So you can imagine it's extremely tough on him. But in the end, this guy is mostly put up with all of this because he just wants to. He genuinely wants to help and come up with these ways to save people's lives.
Wow.
So, I mean, if that's not an unsung hero, guys, I don't know.
Seriously.
I don't know
That's what I
is.
love about this podcast is like, it really is a moment to appreciate people like this who have been out of the spotlight for so many years.
Yeah. So eventually, it gets better for him later on. Eventually, through Dr. Blaylock's negotiations, Thomas does become the highest paid assistant at Johns Hopkins around 1946, and easily becomes the highest paid African American on their payroll. So it's not all bad, and things get better. So to touch on his relationship with Blaylock, it's complicated to say the least, because even just kind of reading through his life, it makes you think, well, it seems like Blaylock, stood up for him a lot and defended him. I mean, and one of the things was in Vanderbilt and in Hopkins, and making sure he comes with him and, allows him to assist him in many of the, heart surgeries that he's done and whatnot. And he always insists that he be in the operation room with him, especially in the early on ones. But at the same time, it's recorded that Blaylock's tolerance seemed to have a limit. So that was in pay, that was in academic acknowledgement, and social interaction outside of work. He didn't necessarily seem to be too keen on those things towards Vivien Thomas.
So they weren't friends at all.
Yeah, they kind of were, but it's mentioned that there a lot of tensions continued, and there was eventually a huge rift into friendship when Thomas wasn't acknowledged for curing the blue baby syndrome. He wasn't, like I mentioned earlier, he was absent in all articles and in team photos.
Yeah,
which, it's not that he had 100% of the reason, but he was a giant reason for them being able to go through with this procedure. So there was a huge rift in their friendship at that point. And I don't know if they ever reconnected or anything like that. Just later on in 1964, Blaylock died from cancer, and Vivien Thomas kept staying at Hopkins. He mentored a lot of African American lab assistants, as well as John Hopkins's first black cardiac resident, Levi Watkins Jr., who he helped in groundbreaking work in using a automatic implantable defibrillator. So
wow,
he became a huge mentor to all these people, which, again, in his mind, he might have been, kind of disappointed, discouraged, and maybe just mad or whatnot. But from the outside, it just seems like he kept rolling with the punches, and he decided that he might have had a crappy, unacknowledged life, but he was just going to turn around and mentor other guys and girls, and just keep helping the human race as much as he could in different medical instances.
So he never actually got a medical degree.
Yeah, no. The only thing that happens is after working there for 37 years, he's finally appointed to the faculty of the School of Medicine as an instructor of surgery, officially. And in 1976, Johns Hopkins University gave him an honorary doctorate, so he was finally able to be called doctor by the people there.
Yeah,
cool.
But since he didn't have an official medical degree, it was only honorary. He was never allowed to operate on a living patient.
Wow,
that's crazy.
It is crazy.
He might be one of the few people in the world to jump from a high school diploma to a doctorate, an honorary doctorate.
Seriously.
Probably pretty rare.
Yeah, very rare. That's awesome.
Yeah, and ultimately in 2005, Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, they started doing this thing for their first year medical students, where they divided them up into 4 different colleges, and one of them they named after Vivien Thomas. So he is unsung, but he is named hero, if that makes sense.
But is there a song named after him? That's the real question.
No, not that I could find.
So technically, we're okay.
So we're still fine.
So here's a bonus question of the round for y'all.
Ooh, are we keeping score now? Is this going to be a thing?
Well, none of you got a point for the other one. So yeah. So I told you they divided them up into 4 different colleges, and one of them was Vivien Thomas. And one of the remaining 3, their name has been mentioned in this podcast so far.
Blaylock.
And it's not Dr. Blaylock. And you each get 1 guess. And I want you to be honest. Think of it. I'm going to give you 5 to 10 seconds. Just think of the name if you can. And you
Oh.
will be saying it one by one, but don't listen to each other's answers and
Wait.
let that change your
No,
answer.
wait. Oh gosh, this is hard. Wait, so you've said it before, right?
Yes,
Okay,
this
I
person's
don't
been
remember
mentioned.
the name, but what was that female doctor?
It was
who-
probably the female doctor.
who
Were all
got.
three of you thinking that person?
Yes.
Wait, I'm thinking one of the dogs.
That is the person.
Oh, I was way off.
Johnny lost a point.
All right, Johnny loses a point. This
Yeah.
was a horrible way to do a quiz, but sorry, we're trying to get used to different formats here.
Yeah.
So James and Samuel get a point. This
Yay.
week.
Hey.
What? They didn't say the name.
I'm a winner.
They didn't say the name.
At least they thought
I'm
about
contesting
it.
this. No. Why? This is unfair.
Wow, whatever.
Jeez. All right. You know what? Fine. I'll
Well,
I'll
all
get
right,
it
that's-
next week.
Yes. Okay. Anyway,
Uh,
well, to finish things off, so Thomas eventually retired, and he died in 1985 of pancreatic cancer. So that puts him at age of 75.
wow.
So a fairly long life. And
Yeah.
the last cool tidbit that I have on him is his nephew. The name is Koco. Is it Coco? I guess
Koco. Koso.
Coco Eaton.
I'm not
So
sure.
Thomas's nephew graduated from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, and he was actually taught by many of the physicians that his uncle Thomas had trained.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Wow.
And so this guy is now the team doctor for the Tampa Bay Rays, the baseball team in
Wow.
Oh, in Florida.
So
Uh-huh.
if any of our listeners know this man, if you can get us connected with him, that would
Yeah,
be
get us a signed baseball or something.
yeah. Tampa Bay Rays, would you like to sponsor?
Yeah.
Go to the team. It's like, can I get one of you guys' autographs? It's like, yeah, sure. No, your team doctor. Like,
Yeah.
I
We
want
need
that
your
guy.
doctor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you
that's
you
cool.
never reminded us of the name of the woman.
Because I forgot. No, I'm just kidding.
Even Daniel loses a point.
No, wait, what?
Samuel and I are in the lead.
Her name is Helen Tossig.
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 So the Taussig School of Medicine then? Or a school of
Yes.
something?
There.
Yeah, the School of Medicine's divided into 4. One of them
Right,
is
okay,
Vivien
yeah,
Thomas,
gotcha.
the other is Helen I'm not sure about the other two. But yeah, that is the story of the legendary Vivien Thomas. Like I said, John Hopkins has thankfully acknowledged his contributions, yet it's just I felt like this, we need to know about this
He's
man.
an unsung hero. Yeah. Well, it's really cool how he even never had that formal education, but was still so influential, and so knowledgeable.
Yeah, so many things make him cool because he's not just like not that those people aren't cool as well, but he's not just someone who came up with something incredible and we don't know about him, but in his life too, segregated a lot, didn't have any like you just said, Johnny, any formal education over high school. Yet, he just kept pushing on because he genuinely did this out of his kindness and goodness towards others and wanting to solve these problems. And that is a hero right there.
It really
Vivien
it really
Thomas.
does go back down to character. I think that's been the common theme we've noticed over the past several weeks.
Yeah, you're right, Samuel. Good.
Well, thank you.
Bonus point for Samuel.
Yes.
Oh, man.
That's not actually a bonus point. I you know what? No points for anyone this week. We're still trying to figure this out.
That's right.
Johnny's happy.
That's right. Everybody back down to my level. Daniel, so is there anything else to wrap up about this guy?
Well, if I was going to say, if in our audience, if you know of someone who suffered from blue baby syndrome, share this podcast with that person and let them know that they have Vivien Thomas to thank.
Yeah, that's true. To that person especially, Vivien Thomas is a hero, unsung hero. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks for making it to the end of this episode. We are going to go ahead and play the song about Vivien Thomas right now. James and I are going to get to work on it and play it right now. So stick around in just a few seconds for that. Again, follow us on Instagram, Unsung Heroes Podcast, and stay tuned for a new episode every 2 weeks. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye-bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
All he ever wanted was medical school, but the depression pulled a fast one and played him a fool. Got no money and he got no fame, but there's a good reason to remember his name. Wouldn't give him recognition, they paid him as a maintenance man, but others gonna gain from his wisdom. So Vivien will do what he can. He got no degree, but what he did can't be ignored. If he can't do his job, he'll show you how you can do yours. To Johns Hopkins at Blaylock's side, who needed all the help that he could provide. Started operations and he saved many lives. Switched to training others so that more could survive, but